Ah!
Oh, we're here.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Tezos-Artcast. This is episode number 21. And
We're 21 already? Wow.
Already 21.
This podcast can drink.
That's right. I will be one of your co-hosts today, PC84 or Jeff. And this is...
I'm Davey Francis, D-A-V-E-Y.
D-A-V-E-Y.
Jeff's having me on today as a guest co-host. So it's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Welcome. No, thank you for coming on and hanging out. Our other sidekick, Good Times, is on a flight across the country to probably drink a lot of mead.
Where is he going?
He is going to the New England area.
Oh, I bet it's lovely out there this time of year. A lot of humidity, but
that's right. Crabs,
lobster rolls. You get the best lobster rolls. That's one of those dishes that is easily, like, often imitated, but never quite the same as when it comes from New England.
Clam chowder.
There's that too.
That's I think my one reason for wanting to go there.
Clam chowder?
Yeah, I love clam chowder like nothing else.
I'll have to remember that. That'll be added to my list of facts I know about you now.
Exactly. And also, by that time, I will probably have gone from being pescatarian to full vegetarian and arrive not being able to have clam chowder, because that's kind of a pattern for me. Is as soon as I get to a place where I can have like some dish that I've always craved, I've changed my diet to exclude that thing.
That sounds tragic. I would make like a one-off, dip your toe back in the water. I have a vegan friend that landed in Japan and was like, I'm going to try sushi. just the one time.
Yeah, so he's not here today, but yeah, I appreciate you hanging out, and yeah, very excited to get going. If you haven't watched the Tezos-Artcast before, we are a art, music, game platform, or we're a show that likes art and stuff, and we meet a bunch of artists and musicians and They all happen to revolve around blockchain, NFTs, specifically Tezos, and that's why the name of the show is Tezos-Artcast. So I was trying to fancy it up a little bit there, and it was not in my favor.
Once it found its groove and its simplicity, you were right there.
That's right.
We're fans of arts and stuff.
That's right. That's it. Keep it simple. Yeah. So today, last week we didn't have a show. We took a little break, and that's kind of because I've been putting together some text-based interviews because a lot of the audience around NFTs and specifically Hic et Nunc and Tezos, there's a large Brazilian community and just non-native English-speaking community. And I wanted to give people who weren't comfortable being able to talk to me face-to-face in English the opportunity to kind of just share their story as well. So we started a little 13 questions text-based interview series on the website now with
very cool.
Dead Marcelo was our first guest for that. He played some amazing modular synths a couple weeks back.
I saw that.
And yeah, that was a lot of fun. And he talked a little bit while he was hanging out, so that was cool. But he has a full mini interview on the site. So we've got a couple more coming up. I was getting those kind of ready to go. But
any particular of those interviews you're super excited for, or you were excited about doing?
Every single one of them. I'm not even kidding. All of the people. Oh my gosh, I can't. I have to attend to that in a minute. All of the people.
Everyone
are people that I had reached out to previously and who kind of let me know, like, I'd love to, but English isn't my first language and I'm not really comfortable speaking it. On Twitter it's all good, but messaging's fine. So I'm excited to be able to go back and
it's a lot easier to implement a translation of a text-based interview as well. Jeff just fell off of his chair. Is that what just happened? No, you're back.
I'm back. I had to plug something in. It was very important.
Oh yeah, get that done.
So yeah, it's really cool. I'm super excited about it, and I hope we can just keep making more. And hello to everybody watching. A couple people watching. Be sure to drop a hello in the chat, because we're going to introduce our guest now. And we're going to introduce our guest. And this gentleman, we've, again, like a lot of our guests, kind of stumbled across in previous explorations and adventures in the blockchain. And his name kept popping up. And every track that I heard from him was different. And it was so cool to see somebody so diverse and just becoming prolific on Hic et Nunc. And so that just in itself made me want to kind of reach out, and he was more than responsive, and we're very excited. So let me welcome Marc Fendel.
Yeah.
Hey, Marc.
Hi, Marc.
How's it going, Jeff? Hey, Davey.
I said it right, didn't I?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just literally right before we came on, I was telling my wife about you a little bit, and I said, oh yeah, Marc Fendel, and then I stopped. No, it's Fendel, and then I immediately second guessed myself as soon as I brought you in. So
you made it to the right place, though. So.
No, you got it right.
Okay, cool. So welcome, man. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Oh man, thanks. I'm really honored to be here, you guys. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. We've been listening. I know I have been listening to your music since Jeff informed me I was going to do this and gave me a link to your stuff. So I've been acquainting myself with your catalog for the past 48 hours.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I have a lot of different stuff up on hand for sure.
Well, yeah, and that's one thing, like I was saying, I immediately noticed was that there was just kind of like this catalog that it seemed like, you know, there's just so many things that you're putting out, and so it's cool to see somebody. I mean, what's okay? I have all kinds of thousands of questions. Let me just start with the basics.
Sure.
So, Marc, who are you?
So, yeah, so I'm a musician here, professional musician here in Seattle. I'll give you just like a little background.
Yeah,
you know,
please.
I grew up in Portland, in a musical family. My dad did jazz radio for 27 years in Portland.
Oh, wow.
I grew up with a collection of jazz records of about like 5,000 to 6,000 titles.
Whoa,
And
yeah.
so I really grew up. What's that?
That's extensive.
Oh, yeah. It took up an entire basement of music, floor to ceiling. And
that sounds incredible. I love that.
it was an amazing, it was an amazing time. And yeah, so I came from a musical family, and like, you know, all of this music around me, really predominantly jazz music. And I ended up going to music school. No big surprise there. You were just talking
about Berkeley, right?
Yeah, I went to Berkeley. Yeah. So I was out in Boston for 5 years, and I finished up Berkeley. I moved to Seattle in the mid '90s because Seattle was the absolute place to be in the whole world for music at that time. And I was playing a lot of gigs. I was playing, you know, 5-6 gigs a week, sometimes more. At that time, and
that was with the first band you had in Seattle. Was that the Bebop and Destruction?
Yeah, that's Bebop and Destruction. We kind of formed that band more or less at Berkeley, and then moved the whole band to Seattle.
Oh, that's awesome! So everyone was like, "Let's go take it to the Pacific Northwest."
Yeah, absolutely, and I was all for it too, because I was, you know, from Portland. It's only 3 hours north. We're in Seattle, so that was a great time. We made lots of records. You know, I've made lots of different kinds of recordings in the last, you know, 20 years, and I ran a music school for about 7 years, a little private music school. I quit that job in 2011, and then I hiked from Mexico to Canada on the Pacific Crest Trail. And then I came back.
Left turn there from like music. I'm gonna walk across the whole country.
Totally. South to north for sure. And that took me 6 months of walking, and then I started working for my partner Jane, for her small natural remedies company, and that's what I do during the day. So I can kind of pop in to Hen or Twitter for a second, you know, during the day. And but I work for her natural remedies company, and then, you know, I just make music in the mornings, and then, you know, when the workday is done, I just click on the box again and start recording again.
Right.
But yeah, and I taught a lot of saxophone for many years, and I've kind of stepped away from that. Yeah. So I just make music, and I work for this small natural remedies company. I love my gig.
That's the dream, is to be able to, like, you know, do something, and mainly just like, what do I do? I play music. Like, that's, as a musician myself, that's what do you do? I play music. That's it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to be a saxophone player as a kid, and asked the teacher to teach me. And when he asked me why I wanted to play saxophone, I told him because I thought it looked really cool. And he told me, yeah, it really is. And then he told me that I wanted to play saxophone for the wrong reasons, and didn't teach me. So,
oh man,
I got into I know. So I got into punk rock and learned how to play guitar instead. So
sounds pretty fun. I mean, saxophone, you can always pick one up, man. It's not terribly hard.
I think I've definitely done that with every other instrument. And now I play a little bit of everything. So one of these days I'll get my hands on a saxophone and figure that one out.
Should. Loads of fun.
Right.
Yeah. The sounds are fantastic. That's like it's another instrument that's got that like warm sound that you get from like a nice like overdriven guitar that's got that same warmth to it, but very different type of tone. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah, I played some clarinet in middle school, so that was fun.
Wow.
We had my mom played clarinet a bit, and yeah, it didn't go too far, but you know, and then I picked up a guitar later on as well. So you know, definitely the learning to play music and like being able to like I think you get to appreciate music in a different way when you learn it and learn how to play it and stuff. I had someone warn me once about like getting into music production and like beat making, because they had gone really deep into it, like started working for a recording studio and stuff. And I was kind of at home working with like a cracked version of Fruity Loops, and making some beats. And I was talking to him, like, you know, kind of picking his brain about certain things. And he's like, just know that you'll never hear music the same once you know how it's made. And he was kind of telling me like in a negative way, like you're never going to like fall for a song the same way or something to that effect. But I don't know. I don't think that I've had that effect. It hasn't had that effect on me learning kind of how to make music and stuff. I can still get lost in a song, but I'm not, you know, I don't know. Do you find that in your life there, Marc?
I just love recording. You know, I just love putting down tracks. I think the hardest thing is to start from nothing, like any other project. You know.
Yeah.
But no, I mean I'm fully excited to make music every day, and I love recordings because they always bring me back to a place. You know.
Right. Now, and what, so kind of going on that whole journey, you know, going from, again, playing music all the time, to, and being fully immersed in, you know, recording and with like bands and all of that, to walking across the country, setting up like education, where was the step that brought you to like cryptocurrencies and kind of the NFT space, where you're at now? I kind of want to touch back behind that, but I'm curious because I want to start talking about some of your tracks and stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my introduction to hen and cryptocurrency only started this journey just started in June for me, and my best friend up the street, at Mighty Moss, he's a designer and illustrator, just great designer, illustrator. Yeah, we've been friends for 20 years, and and he called me up just a couple months ago and told me about hen, and it just took like a 2-minute conversation for me to be like, that's for me.
Oh, right. Me and Jeff had a 3-hour conversation. How that went. I feel like there's always a nearby friend that's like your crypto enabler. Like, I feel like we could probably like trace it back to one person initially that was the crypto enabler for a friend, and it's just spread out, and it's word of mouth has made this thing in like a very punk rock way of like this sort of like counterculture of not just of artists in this weird new space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 6 degrees of crypto enabler.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had the similar experience with a neighbor, you know, coming over. Tealit T says crypto enabled punk rock. That's right.
Yes.
At least Tealit T, what's up?
I love it.
Marc, now, being in the natural remedy industry, if you have an appreciation for tea, I highly recommend checking out Tealit. They are really awesome. Like one of the first companies here on the West Coast, anyway, to kind of start engaging the that like open, transparent platform of tea distribution and working with tea farmers directly, and kind of skirting the middleman, which is super crypto. And quick side note, Tealit T's dog is named Bitcoin, and that dog was around. I knew that dog before I ever owned any Bitcoin. So there's some old school peeps there, but really cool. Anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but
No, let's go.
Yeah. So you hear about it, and what was what sounded exciting to you about like Hic et Nunc and what was going on with NFTs?
I think the thing that got me most excited about it was the opportunity to share my music kind of in its just kind of diverse nature of it.
Right.
And for that, I really felt like Hic et Nunc would allow me to kind of be my actual true self, instead of like the way that people think about me, you know, as like a jazz saxophonist or a music teacher, or you know, I'm kind of like compartmentalized.
Yeah.
You know, the way that people think about me, you know, or whatever. But that platform as being able to just display my kind of diverse work, you know, I was just all about it. I was like, wow, I can share a few of my photos, I can share my music, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is, because it's just a testing ground, you know,
Right.
of sorts. And I was kind of treating it that way. And I did not join Hic et Nunc to mint songs necessarily. Like, I mean, it's cool. I'm trying to put out stuff just so that people can see that I do lots of different things.
Yeah.
But really what I want most out of it is the collaborations. And that is what makes me the most excited about being in the space, for sure.
Right. Yeah, I see more and more of that collaborative nature kind of coming out, and it is exciting. I think, and what you said about, you know, kind of people seeing you, you know, in one form or another. Like, I know that the older that I get, it's like we live. I like to say, you know, we live many lives in a lifetime, and it, depending on, you know, when you met me, you know, you might think of me as the poetry host, or you might think of me as the bartender or the DJ, or whatever it is. You know, there's a lot of things that people do throughout their lives, and it can feel it can start to feel like, oh, well, yeah, like I bartend, but you know, I got this other stuff. Or I meet people at work, and if I see them outside of work, it kind of blows my mind a little bit, because they don't have their uniform on, and you know, they're dressed up real fancy, and I would never picture them that way. You know, knowing them, you know, as a restaurant worker or whatever, or you know, being on the cook line or something. So I think it's really cool that the way that you described using or approaching this platform has enabled you to kind of feel like you can show your full self and show all those parts. And I think that's really cool, because it's hard enough to kind of deal with other people compartmentalizing you, but it makes you want to compartmentalize yourself. And, you know, I think maybe sometimes that's a good thing. You have to kind of focus, but it sounds like it's been a liberating thing for you.
Oh, this has just been the most exciting thing that's happened, I think, maybe ever. But I mean, certainly this is the most exciting time since the mid 90s, you know, like I'm just so energized about the possibilities. And yeah, one of these days I'll have to break it down for my musician friends.
Right.
It's nice that you can draw so much excitement out of it. I know that as a person who's been playing music for most of my adult life and most of my like young adult life, that like it does periods of sort of staleness happen very easily. You've been doing the same sort of thing for a long time, and sometimes you find yourself in a musical rut. And I know personally the sort of the hand space and the NFT space, when I realized that like it could be involved in music is an exciting thing, and sort of that new excitement can breathe a little bit of new life into a career of doing something that maybe not even felt stale, but like even just more excitement on top of the excitement you already had for what you do. I mean, it seems like you love being a musician, so it seems even more cool that you can be even more excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the opportunity to like make music for some of these artists has been it's just been totally mind blowing.
And I love like picking through your hand page, and as you should talk about being able to be your full self, whereas I think on like other platforms, you do have to compartmentalize to sort of meet other people's algorithm standards or how they can search or push like what to put where for advertising purposes. On your hand page, you can scroll through and you can find, you know, something from like a Ridley Scott film to a somber jazz track to a Led Zeppelin cover that is, and each one like is different. And then sort of the very lo-fi way that Hen works is you never know what you're going to get. And the intrigue from that sort of vastness of the collection on there just makes you want to keep digging through more to find out what, like, so where else does this go?
Yeah. You know, I've been excited by Hen Radio to Hen.radio being put together was really exciting because, again, I think, like, for the most part, prior to that, if you were scrolling through the feed, you know, it was a lot of art or a lot of videos that may have music in them. But, you know, for someone that loves to explore music, you know, I used to love to, I lived right by a library for a while in the early 2000s, and I would just go to the library, grab a stack of CDs. Most of them I didn't know what they were, bring them home, rip the ones I liked, go back, do the same thing. And so like having that like open exploration was such a great thing. And, you know, you kind of find that in platforms like Pandora was another one that when that came along, I was like, this is cool. Like this is similar to that library experience where I don't know what I'm going to get, but it's also, you know, there's no risk to me. I'm just able to be exposed to so much. And
then Pandora started only playing Coldplay. It just became Coldplay radio. No matter what you picked, it was always just Coldplay radio.
I think you're right, actually.
I always found working in bars that like Coldplay must have bought stock in Pandora to some degree, because you could be listening to like, you know, Nirvana radio and suddenly it would be like, hello, this could be the scientist. This could be all fixed. That was what Pandora just turned into Coldplay. Sorry, tangent there, but
it might be this might be related to M. Night Shyamalan's new release.
Old. The beach where you get old is the beach where you get cold play.
That's right. Right.
I'm really glad I got that out of my system. Have you seen Old, Marc? M. Night Shyamalan's Old?
I don't think so. No.
It's about a beach where you go and you get old.
Is it new?
It is brand new. It's still in theaters right now, but don't go to those. Yeah, it seems like the most fascinatingly hilarious concept for a movie ever, and it's just called Old.
Cool.
Welcome to Old Cast.
Old Cast.
You thought you got it out of your system.
Yeah, no, I definitely hijacked this podcast with an M. Night Shyamalan conversation.
Well, I think it's natural for Coldplay conversation to go there.
Yeah, it does make you feel old after listening to it.
I think with the Hen Radio being able to filter out all the music, I had that same excitement again of like library, Pandora, and now the Hen.radio, where again, you know, just picking through, going anything from like some lo-fi beats to like screaming, raging death metal to weird sound design, and it's a lot of fun, and then being able to you know, again, support that artist or, you know, buy that work is pretty neat. And it'll be interesting to see how it evolves, because I know for art and visual arts, NFTs are definitely a game changer in terms of royalties and being able to, you know, being able to trade and sell. So that use case, like, is very prevalent and kind of at the forefront of, I think, where people are, how people are thinking about NFTs. But music we've always consumed it so differently than we've consumed kind of traditional art. So, I grew up, we probably grew up all in a culture where, you may have bought the tape, but you're going to record it and hand it off to a friend because you want them to have that album, and so on and so forth. And so kind of how the music landscape can use NFTs is going to be interesting, because I don't know that royalties play into it as much. The idea of, I want to own this piece of music, but I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I have more questions than thoughts, really.
Yeah.
Are people willing to buy just, audio NFTs?
Right.
And we're so used to this, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube music culture. Right. And people are already they've already been driven towards that. And so I'm wondering, if they are really willing to buy music again in this way. I don't know. What do you think?
I know the industry has made it very hard to just buy music. With things like Spotify and YouTube Music, I don't want to have everything.
Right.
I want to have the 15 albums that I know I love. And then if I happen to be handed something by either of you guys, or I find something, I want to then be able to buy that from one artist, support that one artist who isn't making fractions of a penny off of me listening to one of their songs.
Right.
And I want to add that to a storage device. So obviously I can't carry around a CD booklet anymore hooked into the visor of my car, but I do have this 128 gig thing in my pocket all the time. And they've made it so hard for you to support singular artists through these streaming platforms, because it benefits someone somewhere up a food chain of monetary beneficiaries. Right. So I like the idea of what we're doing with the NFT space and the NFT audio, which I think is even more of a Wild West sort of territory than visual arts.
Right.
Yeah.
But also does to add the idea of mixing the two communities into the visual arts and the musician community, of bringing these two things to something that someone can purchase in the same way that a vinyl record is less than just a medium for sound. These vinyl records come together, and it's the packaging, it's the things you get with it. The index card of the liner notes is a piece of art in and of itself. I know Seattle specifically has a lot of bands from that area that have for years been putting out products where the vinyl is worth $80, because it's not just the record, it's the picture disc, it's the just random pieces of art that get shoved inside of that sleeve.
And I think that might be one of the directions you could go with it is, and I thought about this with it's how some collectibles are set up already, where Marc, you put out an album, maybe 8 tracks, maybe it's even a collaborative album, or okay, wait, we'll start with the Tezos-Artcast mixtape. Okay. Cool. You get 10 artists to participate. You get one visual artist to do, a piece for the record cover, and you release 100 gold series of this album, and it's on a fractionalized NFT or a smart contract that's broken up so that royalties from the contract are going to go to each individual, or every sale is going to go to individual musicians. A portion of the sale is going to go to the artists that contributed. So that's all broken up on the smart contract already.
I'm looking forward to that.
100 of those are exclusive, where you're going to get the NFT, rare collection maybe there's like, a couple extra tracks thrown in once you download it or something like that. Physical cassette that, there's
The
a few things
bonuses.
like that. So it could be that record labels will take a different, there'll be kind of like a new genesis of like independent record labels that are focused on creating those smart contracts that, it's more of like on the developer side, this is the album template, and then artists can grab that and say, okay, we as a collective are going to get this. And that 100 or so collectible, that might be something worth trading forward and trying, because of the scarcity of it. And then you have kind of a silver level and a bronze level that the cost comes down, but it's pretty much going to be that one-off album sale that, that's kind of a future. I could see that sort of future happening,
It's a very cool concept.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Tealit T is asking, could audio NFTs be sold to content creators and streamers to avoid DCMA issues? That's a good question, right?
I think the only issue here is sort of the algorithms that streaming platforms run that weed out. But I guess if it was individually sold, they wouldn't be listed on sort of like your BMI catalog that would find it and tell you that you're using something that's already got like a copyright issue with it.
And speaking of copyright, I've had multiple producers, friends of mine, tell me I'm absolutely crazy for releasing music without copywriting it.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I'm like, it's on an NFT. I'm not going to worry about it.
I mean, that's a dated product. That's as simplistic as mailing something to yourself to prove ownership or like put a date timestamp on it. The NFT is like a digital timestamp of when this was created.
Exactly. That was my exact response, actually.
Yeah.
It was like,
yeah. So many people are very like hard locked into this old mentality and this older way of doing things, which I think is the challenge that we're seeing in sort of just the crypto community on any different format, be it Tezos, Ethereum, Bitcoin, all these ways of people using this decentralized system of doing things. And some people are so locked into this old way of thinking that they can't quite wrap their head around the legitimacy of, using an NFT to essentially copyright your music without having to pay 13 other people to get a stamp on something. You just did it yourself. And I think that's where the system is broken, is that so many people exist on a food chain of providing something to an artist. And now the crypto space is providing the autonomy to the artist.
Right.
And NFT Raider, want to say hello in the chat. You made it. It's awesome.
Hi, NFT Raider.
Awesome community member, does some amazing art as well, and some sounds. But it'll be interesting to see legally how it works out in different countries. Like, I know that there's even been experimentation with Tezos specifically, and I'm sure other chains as well, with handling escrow accounts, handling the sale of houses, and that kind of thing, where kind of more clear-cut ownership standards are set. And I know that, like right now, that NFT copyright, we don't know how that's going to hold up, like in court anyway. Like, but those are those early challenges that we're kind of like, it's the Wild West, and somebody's got to be there to push it, to push the envelope and to carve out that future.
That's how court cases work. Is somebody has to, like, lawyers just search for precedents in prior legal cases, and what we're doing in this space is setting precedents for the future.
Right.
So someone can reference this back and say, well, this worked here. So as long as we're striving forward and proving that this works here, the future, we can sort of shape the future of how this sort of stuff works. and push out this sort of old guard of people.
Yeah.
Picking at the money and
I know, or the worry or the fear, like that something will be taken from me.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a million songs, you know?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And they're yours. And it's really unusual to think that sort of your masters can be sold to somebody else, and then that music belongs to them. I know I have friends that have released music on record labels that they can't do anything with, then it's theirs, but they've released it on a record label, so that record label now owns that in any way, shape, or form. If they wanted to have a Twitch stream, they couldn't use their own music in their Twitch stream because, some guy in Chicago has a folder in a file cabinet somewhere that says he owns it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, that's a serious deal when you don't get to, when you make music and then you can't use it later on, and it's really. Have you had those issues in the past, kind of working in that industry, or? Not really. I've never really had any copyright issues or anything like that. I mean, granted, I've copyrighted the stuff that I've put out on CD over the years for sure.
Right.
But I've never had any issues. And if I did, my brother-in-law is actually a lawyer, an entertainment lawyer. So
that's a good card to have.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's just luck of the draw, I guess. But I can always ask him questions. And I haven't asked him about NFTs yet, so I am curious. I'm sure he knows about about what's happening, but we haven't.
Right. It's like a lot of people in the legal space are suddenly starting to hear this acronym floating around, and like the good ones should be, attuning themselves to it and figuring out what it is and how it does work, so they can be knowledgeable about it.
Well, they'll all learn soon enough, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's right. Man, so have you had now you mentioned collaborations?
Yeah.
Are there what are some recent collaborations that you've worked on with some different artists?
I think the one I'm most proud of is my collaboration with Ivana Tao.
Okay.
And we did a collaboration about a month ago. I did the music for her, and let's see, that one was amazing. A recent collaboration.
You know what object that might have been?
I
was gonna put it up on screen.
Oh my gosh. I do want to share that with you. Do you mind if I just click away here and look for that really quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, because I know I've seen some really cool collaborations. There's some of those. There's some different hashtags going around. Where people are doing Hen Pals was a cool one.
That was good.
I like that one, and that was giving an ode to your favorite NFT artist and making a piece for them, sending them a copy, and then selling off the rest for a penny mutez or whatever. But those shareable, the sharing, trading NFTs are a lot of fun too. I like to see that. I think because NFTs and this whole art space are tied directly to a currency, it's it was always kind of a worry of mine that the space will inevitably just transform into just purely the worst form of capitalist just art for money.
Right.
I don't know how to explain it. Just the bad side of all of that. but seeing things like, again, artists doing like collaborations and then trading stuff, being like, you know what, like a 1-for-1, like you make me something, I'll make you something, and trading, like those kinds of things, like give me that like hope of like, that's good. This is the kind of community I want to be a part of, that you can sell your stuff, you can trade your stuff, like, you know, it doesn't have to be this exclusive place for, you know, only $1 million artists or something, you know. Anyway,
I have too many NFTs.
Scrolling.
I'm scrolling around here. I'll find it in a second here.
So I do. It's like the double-edged sort of, like, I love the hen lo-fi look, but there is a lot there. So sometimes like it can be a little harder to navigate. Yeah. Which is the fun of it, the sort of the random nature of finding things. It definitely brings it back to sort of the old days of the internet, where things weren't quite so polished yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another fun part of it, I think, just in general, like cryptocurrency, blockchain stuff, or just cryptocurrency. Like it's so new, and if you think about it, that, you know, if you could go back to, you know, the beginning of the internet and establish yourself in one way or another with the, you know, the cat website, or
right,
or the first memes website or something like that, or whatever, like, you know, hindsight's 2020, but this is, you know, we have the luxury of being able to say, you know, now is the time. If I want to do something, like, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, it's that Wild West sort of frontier right now, where everyone's on an even sort of playing field of it, and obviously there's some bigger players on some other platforms, but I think Tezos sort of brings it back to sort of the door's still wide open for anybody who wants to like be a part of this. Where I think that on certain other platforms, the monetary values of certain things have gotten a little too large and been mildly excluding to a certain point. And with Tezos, there's still I'm sure there's people that are minting for large amounts of Tez, but it's still very accessible for anyone that wants to get involved on, and you can do anything here. The freedom is so wonderful. I mean, we've got music, we've got visual. You can see someone that's uploaded sort of a fine art black and white photograph next to like a scribbled Microsoft Paint drawing. And nothing excludes either of those things from being any more or less art than the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a purity to it, and I really enjoy that, which is what brings me towards this space more and more.
All right. I'm going to put a focus on this here. And get rid of me. Okay, so tell me about this, and I'll and then we'll play it. It's 40 seconds, almost a minute.
Yeah.
But
yeah, this is Ivana Tao's piece. Yeah, she sent this to me, and I started working on it. I was really excited about it, and like 14 hours later, I had like a draft. I couldn't stop.
Nice. Wow.
But yeah, maybe we should just play it, and we can talk about it.
Okay, perfect. All right, here we go. Can you hear that? Man.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Right.
So this is, so she sent you the visual piece transforming like this, and then you added, what was your process making this? Because I can imagine what it would be, but what's your personal way of kind of digesting this and going at it?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to like I kind of wanted to try to like make the music kind of breathe, you know, so you can kind of hear it go. Actually, I actually did that into the microphone on the last one in there. I actually went.
Yeah.
Recorded myself, but so I wanted to kind of have that kind of breathing motion as the scenes kind of the cyberpunk type, you know, cityscapes kind of melt, you know, away. And so my process was really like, I used Labs, which is just, you know, a VST, virtual instrument.
Okay.
In Reaper, I use Reaper DAW, digital audio workstation. So I basically just played the kind of the vamp part of it, kind of experimented with that a little bit, tried to, and then I added samples into each of the places where things kind of pop in and pop out. So really kind of trying to hone in on exact, you know, minuscule changes in the piece, especially at the beginning where there's two kind of like bubbles or rocks or whatever. They kind of bubble up and you hear something happen with these things. If you listened in with headphones or, you know, studio monitors, you'd be able to hear the kind of the sound kind of go back and forth a little bit. So combination of, you know, the synthesizer, Labs, and several different samples that I loaded in to a sampler and then recorded, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty basic. There aren't like tons of tracks, but each one of the samples I tried to like craft each one of those samples to do a specific thing, you know, or to represent, you know, something in the piece, like at the end, like the actual sounds are like, I wanted to like get the actual sounds within the city, you know, the actual innards of what's going on, you know, in the building, not just the building itself, but I wanted to kind of like give just like a little bit of an experience of being inside, you know.
There's a very constant vibe through this of like, if you're saying we're seeing like breath from the music, but then visually melting, and there's very much like, without any explanation from you, I would have described this as sort of a gas passing through like liquid. Yeah. And that's very much those sort of like 8-bit twinkles that we just heard right there. Those sort of like deadened reverb of like what sounds like a sort of pitched sub hit somewhere in there. That's like very, very cool. And that right there, it sounds sort of like if you were to put your ear to a glass of soda. Right. And like here is like those air bubbling up through the liquid to the top. And it matches so perfectly with this sort of cyber city that is just melting like into another version of another cyber city. Liquid and gases passing through each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfectly done.
You know, and I wanted to like make a piece that when you put it on, that it wasn't, I wanted to make the music meditative enough where you could just leave the piece on. Yeah. You know, and you could do something else and it would just be meditative, and just, you know, and just looping and looping and looping. So that was kind of my idea behind it.
This is the kind of thing that I'd like to get, like, and I've been thinking about trying to do this, is purchasing some sort of LED monitor that I can have on a wall.
Me too.
And have these sorts of things on loops and like, you know, audio optional, but just sort of have these things playing through for a while and change them to different pieces of music and visuals.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I want like the whole wall screen.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. It's so cool.
Right.
Totally.
I know. I keep thinking too. Like what's the upfront cost here for me to get like 12 monitors and like you're saying, like 12 monitors, and then have the ability to like show up in like a gallery and be like, okay, like, this is the exhibition. I'm going to need dedicated internet. I'm going to need, I'm going to need a security guard here 24 hours a day. I'm going to need
Totally.
but yeah, it's it's really beautiful. That's a cool collaboration.
Oh,
sure.
Thanks. Yeah, I had so much fun on that piece.
Yeah. Do you have some others in the works?
Yeah, well, I sent you that one recording. I don't know if you can play that, but
I can.
That would be cool. This recording that you're gonna play is a recording that artist Amelia, I think her Twitter is @Romance and Ales, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think @Romance and Ales. Amelia, and she was on Twitter last week, and she read this poem of hers, and she was like half naked reading this poem, and she was just like, I just have to get this out there, just so excited to share this thing. I was so moved by it. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And so I ripped the thing off of Twitter and then made a quick scratch track.
Yeah.
And like I put some piano behind it, and the whole thing just like lit up like in 15 minutes. And I had 3 nice tracks, and the whole thing was just sounding incredible. And I was like, and I was just having fun. This was not even a thing. I was just like, wanted to little project, something to do in the afternoon, have a good time, Yeah.
A little bite of inspiration, just whoosh.
Exactly. And then I was like, oh no, this is amazing. And so I sent that to her, and now she's gonna re-record the entire poem. This is just a part of the poem.
Is that the S.M. Mueller?
No, that's the other one.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
perfect.
That's the other one.
Thinking.
And so yeah, she's gonna record the entire poem, and then we're gonna redo the whole track, and then it will go with one of her paintings. So
it's collected with the painting as well. So
exactly,
spoken word, the musical aspect, and the visual aspect. That's very cool.
Yeah, I think this is like this. Yeah, this collaboration. Super excited about this.
Have you collaborated a lot on like composing scores for things like spoken word before, or?
A little bit here and there, not a ton. Not because I didn't want to or anything. It just didn't really get that opportunity. But I love that opportunity of trying to pair sound design with poetry or anything really, or paintings or anything.
That's that's a thing I stepped into recently, is composing scores for a collection of spoken word stories by a writer named Michael Swaim. He sort of tasked me with writing original music to each of his short stories, which has been a very interesting thing to approach and do. So I was looking to pick someone else's brain that like might work in those things.
That's cool.
You, with this piece with Amelia, had you informed her that you were going to create the music, or did you? I know you said you saw it on Twitter and you sort of ripped it off and went at it. Like, so you just grabbed it, went at it, and were like, "Hey, I did this thing."
Exactly, and she knew that I had already asked her if we could collaborate. Actually,
yeah,
because I love her art, and her friend Rose Jackson I think is fabulous too, and I'm hoping to collaborate with Rose Jackson as well. But she didn't know that I was doing anything like that, and really I just want to, more than anything, I just want to show her like that, this is what I do,
Yeah.
I want to bring your poetry, to a new plane, and and share that, be able to share that.
Well, let's hear this. This is the title of the file is Thinking.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really know actually the name of the poem itself, but
No worries.
Yeah.
Like you said, she's re-recording it and gonna
Oh, yeah.
like release it officially.
Yeah.
So this is the version that you had made and sent to her, like, be like, "Look, you inspired me."
Exactly.
Okay, let's check it out. Let's check
Cool.
it out. Is the volume on that okay?
Maybe a little bit up.
And dance with my colour, my words, my line. Sway with confidence to the swooning call, effortlessly rising on its tide, higher and higher, until I am drunk on ecstasy, mouth twitching, tongue darting, in and out, in and out. High, I would write a soaring story. I would draw beautiful figures. The poetry would flow. High, I would drink, I would smoke, I would fuck. Higher and higher until I can see every beautiful atom in the world, understand every emotion, understand everything. But it would not last. But it would not last. The fall would strike, the plummet would grab and drag me down, 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 sinking beneath sanity, sinking beneath colour and line, into black and grey and miserable, bleeding, seeping, huddled in a corner, weeping, hollowed out, lost in a gaping, holing wound, in darkness that would last much longer than just for one day.
Wow, that's something, man. That's beautiful.
Cheers.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, Amelia is super talented. I mean, wow. I want to hear the rest of it.
Yeah,
right?
I wasn't quite ready for that one to end. That could have gone on a bit longer.
Oh, that's great. Well, maybe when everything's all finished, we could have a release party.
Yeah.
Like a full-on live stream of the whole piece. Yeah.
Ooh, that would be so cool.
That would be so cool.
Yeah. Okay. We could do. Yeah. Okay. I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely.
That is awesome. We've got. Did you want? I'd like to play the other piece that you sent me as well.
Yeah, let's do it.
And can you tell me a little bit about that one?
Yeah, Essa Mujer. It's this is a I thought it would be cool to kind of feature some Brazilian music because of Hiket Nunk, of course, and I love Brazilian music. You know, I kind of like in the past years, I'd gotten really into the Brazilian jazz musicians. And this piece is by Joyce Moreno. She is a jazz singer in Brazil. She's made lots of records, and yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful song. I never released this. We recorded it in a studio actually down the street from me, and just a couple years ago, there was a couple reasons why we didn't release it, but I still like the song, and yeah, I hope you all enjoy it.
Awesome. I'm going to go there now.
Well, thus far, you're 2 for 2, so I can't imagine this one's going to go too far apart.
All right. Okay, perfect. Here we go.
We're rolling.
Yeah.
That was fabulous, yo.
Nice.
Cheers.
I wanted to get up and dance, but my headphone cable's not long enough.
Yeah.
I also have a very
Absolutely.
hurt neck right now, so I couldn't dance too much anyway, but
Right.
I like what you
Man.
got going on here.
Yeah, right. That's a pretty cool cool business on the little hickey nook.
Yeah.
that thing's terrifying. With my input there is that's the stuff of robot nightmares. I love it, but if it came at me, I would be afraid.
Come at me, bro.
Me too.
Imagine opening your door and expecting Avon, but getting that.
I think a robot would be afraid of that.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
that somewhere goes. It's a level beyond your average Android.
Yeah. Well, Marc, I'm curious. I mean, we've heard some of these tracks. We've seen some collaborations. Did you? I know we did a little sound check earlier, and we had everything sounding really good. So, did you want to maybe play some tunes?
Yeah. We could play a little tune here. See what happens. Hopefully, we don't crash it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, there's no you just do you. There's no this is your time.
That sounds
Now
great.
I'm mad that we couldn't get my keyboard to work too, because then I could have played along. I know we tried; it didn't work. But yeah, we tried to get this set up, and I was going to try and play along as well.
Well, we'll have to do that. We'll have to try that again.
We'll do
if
the sequel.
Yeah, totally.
Now I will mention. So next week, we're gonna have our first art jam. So I'm inviting back. We've got 6 confirmed former guests coming back to do just like a live stream of their process, whether it's camera pointing down at like, you know, paper and painting, or sharing their screen coding and whatnot. And so we're talking about, I want to do that more often, like a once a month thing. But a music jam would be good too, or combining the two might be fun.
This is the first time I've used this setup to do this today, so
Wow.
I don't even know how this mic is working. It's turned all the way down on the mic.
We'll get it working, and we'll see. We could be jamming.
That would be a lot of fun. I'd like that.
Heck yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So, what are you gonna be? You've got a freaking crazy gong behind you. I can't stop looking at it.
Yeah, it's a monster.
It's beautiful. Can you just hit it once, just with nothing else?
Yeah, let's just
settle my OCD here. I've been looking at it and wanted to hit it.
Yeah, so this gong I got from a friend of mine. He's a drummer, and we have this kind of special friendship of like trading instruments back and forth, with the idea that someday if he wants this back, I will sell it to him for the price that he sold it to me for.
Nice.
Oh,
So
there you go.
We have this kind of special thing that's happened a number of times with cymbals, but this one is, yeah, here we go.
wow! Welcome to ASMRcast.
Whew.
It's very dark, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, especially right in the center. That's like so low.
Yeah, here.
Oh, I felt it right in the middle of the chest.
Yeah, we're pushing sound now, huh?
Oh, you know what that reminds me of is
So this is this other one.
oh nice.
It's a completely different gong.
Very different. Yeah.
I feel like the larger one has an even sort of like higher register than the smaller gong.
It definitely has like a huge harmonic range. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can hear some of those really high tones in this. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do I need to own a gong? Am I gonna get a gong?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
gongs are really fun for everything. They're great for like, dinner or calling somebody or, like telling somebody about their bad joke, I mean,
Yeah.
they get gonged,
Yeah. I recall the first time I ever saw a gong, and my OCD was like, I have to hit it, I have to hit it, I have to hit it.
Yeah.
And I sort of snuck up next to it and like sided up to this gong and gave it a knuckle tap, and was shocked that at how loud this gong was from the small tap that I gave it.
Whoa.
Intimidatingly so.
Whoa.
I can't get enough of freaking hand pans. Hang drums.
I'm
Like,
unfamiliar.
I'm not hip.
Oh man.
Are these sort of like metal bowls that you sort of tap around the bowl? Hand movements are so large there.
Yeah. They're like the inverse of like the Jamaican hand pan.
I see.
I know exactly what you mean.
Oh, they're concave like that?
Like
Yeah,
bubble.
they're like bulbous.
Mm-hmm. Right. I do know those actually.
I have obsessed over those things for freaking months and months now, probably a year.
Wow.
And I keep trying to convince myself to like save up and buy one, because you can get like some small ones on Amazon, and they have, that higher register, but there's like the cream of the crop, and they're like, between like $800 and $3,000.
Yeah.
But they have to. But God, they're beautiful.
I highly recommend going on YouTube and looking for someone playing one of those in a river. Saw a video of this the other day where they had that drum and it floats because it's like this hollow bubble of metal, and they were playing it, and those metallic sounds had that natural sort of water vibration to them, and it made the most unusual ethereal sounds with like the natural sound of the running water and the hand drum. Very cool.
Wow.
It was I highly recommend that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm off on a tangent.
Oh no.
Let's
I do this. I do this to
This is
people.
beautiful. This is good stuff.
Cool.
All right. So an NFT Raider. Good to see you here, still hanging out, and thank you everybody hanging out. Marc's going to get into some live music right now. Super excited, and we're going to find some fun visuals to play while he's doing that, and we're going to mint this and send it out to our guests that have been hanging out with us in the chat. So NFT Raider, you can have all of the NFTs. Hey, Pure Spider. That's right. I'm getting all hot and bothered. This is exciting. Okay. Pure Spider, welcome. All right, Marc, it's all you, buddy. Whew. Man alive.
Whoa,
That was
man.
lovely.
That was absolutely fantastic. That just blew my doors off.
Cheers, brother. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Holy buckets.
Super fun. Lots of wires.
Yeah.
I want to do another like whole hour picking your brains on what you've got set up there. That is, yeah. I feel like the background for a second there.
Basically, what I have going on are six loops right here, and each one of these loops was recorded in a place called the Cistern Chapel, which is I can't remember. It's like 200 million gallon empty water tank. It's made out of concrete and it's below ground, and it's huge. It's like basically like walking into a football field size room of concrete underground, 25 feet. You got to take a ladder to get down there. So
that sounds amazing.
The room itself has a over 2-minute natural reverb in the space, and it's an amazing place. And so all of these, well, not
where is that located?
So that's in Port Townsend, Washington.
Oh man, I was just there recently.
Really?
I did a little trip, a photography tour of the Pacific Northwest recently, and was driving all around Washington and Portland for a little bit.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure that the space is open right now, but you have to like apply for permits.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Mm-hmm. And it's really like they make you have like extra people there, and because of like oxygen concerns.
Oh my, that's a whole thing.
Yeah, right. You're gonna need that.
Yeah, that's a bucket list item now. Like, I'd like to check that up at some point.
It's an amazing place. It's called the Dan Harpole Cistern Chapel in Port Townsend. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so I put all of those samples on here, and so I was playing with filters and pitch and decay and delay and reverb and stuff over here with those samples. And
now for hardware geeks, what sampler is that?
so this is the Electron model samples.
Okay.
And it's a sample sequencer. Like you can't like sample directly into the machine, but you can make samples and then load them onto the machine.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So it works great as, for beat making. I mean, gosh, I make beats all the time. Like I don't even share any of that music, but I love beat making, and I know you do too. But
beat making's fun when you like don't know if you find yourself like unsure what to do. Like you can always make a rhythm and dick around for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Just jam with yourself, basically.
Exactly. And anyway, I just love this machine. It's these machines are not like ridiculously expensive or anything, but I've always wanted something like this, and it checks almost every box for me, like as a tool. Yeah, I mean, if it had a sampler like direct into it, it would be absolutely perfect.
That's what I was going to ask. Which is the box that it doesn't check?
Yeah, that's probably the only one. And the only other box too is that it's not really a mobile unit, although they did just make a battery pack for it, but it's double A's, and I'm kind of like not really.
This keyboard here runs on double A's, and the best double A's I put into it, you get 20 minutes of use out of them, and you're like, why did you do this? This doesn't work. It's the most pointless. It's like it takes like 9 AA batteries to turn on and 20 minutes of playing, and it's done for. Great. Real practical.
Yeah, I don't know. But I love that machine, and I've got a couple like pretty cheap like MIDI keyboards.
The beauty of MIDI stuff is you don't need expensive stuff. You just need to control something that sounds good. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. But like you do, I don't know. I mean, it would be nice to have a nicer, keyboard that was more like maybe a little bit more fun to play.
I'd like something with weighted keys. I like the weighted keys, and this doesn't have that. I do a lot of organ as sort of one of my main keyboard instruments, and for some reason I like that bounce back of like a piano with organs though. So it's like my hybrid version of it.
Yeah, that's cool. What keyboard is that?
This is a Roland Juno DI. So it's, which to be honest, has been relegated to being a MIDI controller that I use with my Mac with Logic and through Alchemy, and most of the samples that I play on there. Occasionally there's a few things that are inside of this that I actually like to use, but for the most part it gets used as a MIDI controller.
Yeah.
It does have this thing that they call the D-beam on there, which can be assigned as an expression pedal, note bender, and it's just like a theremin sort of thing where I can just wave my hand over it and bend a note, control volume, bring reverb up and down with it. But yes, it's of all of the things, being able to use just the D-beam and this in conjunction with like Alchemy in Logic it's why it stays sitting right here all the time. It doesn't get broken down ever.
I love it.
I would like some pads. If it had some pads on it that I could use, I'd like that a little better, but that's what goes here.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful little set. Is that something you pre-prepared, or did you sort of like ad-lib some of those things? I noticed like bringing out the saxophone on there and like looping that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had kind of like obviously I pre-programmed stuff here, but yeah, that was like, I had some ideas. I had some kind of like some thematic ideas about what I wanted to do, but yeah, I basically improvised that whole thing.
It was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Good stuff.
I tweeted about it while it was happening.
Fun.
Well, yeah.
Fun. Yeah. You know, it's really different, like trying to put together solo music. It's just something that I really have not done very much of, you know, solo live stuff. Never really done that.
Right.
So much, but you know, in the last year, of course.
Right.
We've all just been alone.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely learned a lot more of doing music by myself while I've been, you know, just in a house by myself for the past 12 months.
Yeah. Right.
Great.
Marc, so you mentioned, I kind of wanted to touch back on something that you mentioned earlier, and that was the more of the teaching that you had done. So you said you taught saxophone,
sure,
and then you also ran a music school, private music school for a while.
Yeah.
Does that tie into the Music Education for All website project?
It does.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I have kind of a follow-up question for that as well.
Yeah, I worked for the Seattle Drum School for 10 years. I loved that job, and it was a great job. And then I helped the owner of that business open up the Seattle Drum School Georgetown branch, which is in the Georgetown neighborhood, kind of by Boeing Field, pretty close to Boeing Field, kind of south of downtown Seattle, a little south of downtown, a couple of miles. And I ran that school for about 5 years. I worked for him at the other location for 5 years previous. And I loved that gig. And I just, at a certain point, I really just was not making enough. I was just not making enough to survive, really.
Right.
And even though I had a lot of students, and at one point, you know, I had more than 40 saxophone students and teaching jazz ensembles. At one point, I had like probably 6, 7 jazz ensembles for students, middle school through high school. And then I had several adult groups too, teaching them, you know, how to play jazz music and sharing that art. So how this all ties in is I quit that job.
Yeah.
With the idea that I was going to help Jane. I call Jane my partner. She and I have been together for 21 years. Not married, no kids, no pets, and one house.
Yeah, right.
And you know, and Jane and I kind of like was like, I quit that job and I was like, I'm gonna go hike the PCT and then I'm gonna come back and then I'm gonna work for you, and I'm gonna put all my effort into her natural remedies business, Sister Sage Herbs. And so I quit that job and then I hiked that trail. Had an amazing time. I wrote a lot of music on the trail. I actually did a lot of art. I journaled a lot. It was a great trip. That's almost 9 years ago now.
Wow.
You know, it's 9 years ago, actually. And
then I came back.
Yeah, I know, it's just unbelievable. And I've done another long distance trail since then too. The Pacific Northwest Trail I did in 2015. So I'm very connected to outdoors. And I've spent a lot of time, just like a lot of time outside. I've done a lot of like skiing, snowboarding. I've done a lot of mountain climbing. I've climbed.
I just got into climbing recently.
Yeah, I just love snow and ice. I've climbed pretty much all of the major volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest. Rainier.
Oh, wow.
Rainier.
Rainier's beautiful.
Rainier is just like my toe, like that's where my soul like resides. Is like
my first time in Seattle. The first few days there, it was very cloudy and snowy. And then I woke up one morning and looked out of the window of where I was staying, and I was like, "Oh, there's a mountain there." I hadn't seen it previously. It had been covered, and suddenly, for the first time with the week I was there, it revealed itself to us. Like, and you could see it directly. I was staying in Capitol Hill, and you could see it from my apartment window, and I was like,
"Oh yeah,
this is gorgeous." And since then, I've gotten to go and hike around up there as well. So,
oh yeah, it's just it's breathtaking, right? It's amazing.
Really, 100%.
Yeah. So I've spent a lot of time in the park. I just call it the park because that's park. Yeah, just a lot of connection with outdoors, and of course, you know, I call myself an herbalist. I'm not trained, but I work with plants all the time, you know, with Jane's business, and that's another side of my, you know, of what I do. But then music education for all, to answer your question, I got back from that hike, and I previous to the hike, I had made 300 videos for YouTube, sharing just about everything I could think of about saxophone, and really mostly saxophone oriented. And I did it kind of as a response of just like, I give up, guys, you know, I'm not going to like push for this so hard and then come up, you know, shy. I'm just going to give you everything right now. And so I was like, I'm going to decide to put everything that I know on YouTube, and that's it. And I'll just like see what happens. So that was 10 years ago. And now I'm up to like probably close to 800 videos, you know, mostly just saxophone oriented. But lots of different kinds of stuff on there. And then music education for all, the URL just points to the YouTube page. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just going to I'll keep on doing that. Although like my focus on, you know, Hicket Nunk is just,
I mean, you have nearly over 2 million views on that at this point, right? Yeah. I think have you broken the 15,000 subscribers yet? I know I was looking it up earlier, and it's definitely pushing up that way.
I think I have 18,000.
Oh wow, yeah.
Currently, but yeah, I'm always like, I want that 20,000 subscriber. Like, that would be amazing.
100, yeah, that's super cool. I mean, that's a very successful YouTube page right there.
Yeah, for like a little, you know, saxophone channel, or, you know, for a little music channel, you know, I look at other things and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, so many channels have like hundreds of thousands of subs. But
I think that we're gonna be too closer after today.
Yeah, I'll be jumping on there.
Nice.
That's awesome. I'm curious with all of your teaching experience and education experience, is there, when you think back on like all of the different students that you've had, what are some things that stick out in your mind in regards to kind of common things that you've seen hold students back from progressing in their journey? And or how did you see them overcome those? Or how did you
I think that maybe the biggest problem for kids is I think kids need to have like a spirit to do it in the first place, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And I used to tell parents, I'm not here to make your kid, you know, like a professional saxophonist. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to share something that's sacred and have a really positive experience in music. That's my goal here.
Right.
And I think that for kids, like, I think that they're just the way that kids are. I mean, if you can present a good time in music, you're going to get a great result from kids.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so this was kind of my philosophy more about teaching, was about, was more about people making and just sharing and having a good time within the music. And the learning part is the sneaky part. That's where I would sneak it in and like
Right.
show them the thing that they need to learn, without it being a formalized type of lesson. So I think kids' success is really has mostly to do with teachers. And I was so lucky to have amazing music teachers that just sent me in an incredible musical direction. So, I tried to kind of use what I learned from my teachers, all of the best qualities that I learned from my teachers to share with kids. But I think the kids they're fine. They are fine. It's the teaching that needs to be scrutinized, because
I 100% agree.
Kids will they will love it. They will love it if you present something that's engaging. So I've always been encouraging for other teachers to try to craft their lessons, that is less of a formalized thing that maybe you or I had music lessons, piano lessons, and the thing was a total drag,
Right.
And this is the same, that story is a common story for lots of people, is the lessons were boring, or the teacher was boring, or the music was not the music that you wanted to learn in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
That was very specific to me, and the lessons that I took was my initial attempt at guitar when I was a child was very dry, very boring. Here are chord progressions. Here are notes. Learn these scales, and it just wasn't what I was into.
Right.
And then when I turned 13 and got my first guitar, and I was able to take a Mudhoney CD to this guitar teacher, and he would sit there and be able to figure it out in 15 minutes, and then teach me the 4 power chords that are in those songs.
That's awesome.
But the enjoyable part was that I was able to go in and take a record that I wanted to know how to play, no matter how simplistic it was, and learning those things. And you're sneaking the learning in there because those little solo-y riffs that were in there were teaching me to use my hands in ways that I had no interest in doing when you were just trying to teach me, a major scale and play it to a metronome.
Right. Yeah. That's a really good point. And I used to ask kids all the time, what's your favorite music? And a lot of the times, it would be music from games, or a lot of music from games. I
learned a lot of Mega Man songs that I learned on guitar when I was younger. They're all super riffy, and that was my favorite stuff. Yeah. It's also really tricky to play a lot of that stuff on guitar. So
I believe it.
A lot of just finger movement.
Yeah. So I thought that, these are the things that I used, to get kids inspired. I only had a few kids over as many years, really pursue it.
Yeah.
I really only had 2 go to music school. That was a very unique situation. They didn't need me. I mean, I was kind of the icing on the cake, but they were already in, amazing high school programs and would have been phenomenal players, with or without me for sure. But
less of class and more just 2 musicians hanging out at that point.
Seriously, I did have one student who got to a point where he was just a much better reader than me. By the time he was a senior in high school, he was reading circles around me. I was like, oh my goodness, it's time for you to get out of here.
Yeah.
You're making me look bad, dude. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a reputation.
I could actually learn things from you, kids.
Totally. Yeah. It got to that point a little bit. Super brilliant kid. This is a long time ago, but yeah.
you still in contact with any of those students that went on to pursue music, or?
A little bit, yeah. I had a bunch of students actually in 2006 or so, and they were all like college level. They were all in their 20s, and I taught several students then, and yeah, a few of those people actually went on to teach at the school and
wow.
work for me, actually, believe it or
great.
not. And then and a few of those people I actually hired for gigs.
Oh, know? Nice.
Oh yeah. I mean, just ended up being like, well, I mean, you got the gig.
You're what I need.
yeah, exactly. So that was really exciting. There's one drummer who actually lives here in West Seattle, owns the West Seattle Brewery, actually, who was a student of mine many years ago, and yeah, incredible musician. So
now, do you as far as creatively, again, I like to pick people's brains about kind of what gets you out of a funk. Do you ever come across like a time? I'm hearing more and more people say that they kind of keep just creating and creating, but do you have a technique you use or a thing you do to kind of, if you've hit a point where you're not sure where to go with something, how to break through, like kind of like writer's block, that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. I remember. Were you talking about touching grass? My goodness.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I like that. No, I just, a lot of times if I'm just like stuck in here or whatever and it's not happening, and it happens for sure. Yeah, I just go outside. Yeah.
Get out of the house.
Get out of the house. I go exercise and then just come back to it.
Exercise is the biggest one for me. If I get stuck, I go for a run and I come back and it's like endorphins.
Yeah.
Keyboards. Let's go.
Yeah. And you know how like your mind will like actually reset and like you'll sit down and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that a lot of musicians do, well, not do wrong, I never want to say that, but things that some people need to be reminded is to don't overstay your welcome on a piece. And if you get stuck, just walk away from it for a little bit. Like you're not, if you're trying to force anything out, you're not going to get a good result from what you're working on. So like step away, come back and look at what you've done. A lot of times you can go back in and go, I see what my brain wanted to do. And you can improve what you were doing while you were in that sort of like funky little space of not getting anything out as clearly as you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got one question that I definitely want to make sure to ask, and that is, having kind of had, again, the career that you've had up to this point, where you're at now, and discovering NFTs and Hic et Nunc and all this, immersing yourself in the space. What's something that you want to see more of, that you're like, man, I saw this one thing once, or something that you just want more of? What do you think? What would that be?
I think I would love to see like collaborations with like a really wide kind of diverse crowd. You know, we were like, was it Sasha Styles?
Yeah.
Just like listening to her poetry and like talking about AI and music.
I was going to ask, Sasha she's the computer generated, like the AI poetry that sort of, she would feed it and then it would come back with poems.
That was amazing.
Yeah, like that was mind blowing.
That was totally mind blowing. I guess I would just love to see like more of these people all in the same room almost,
Right.
And I start to think about what could actually happen, with so many different people coming together. We just don't know. And I think that's one thing that really excites me about the platform that I would love to see more of. I would certainly love to see more musicians,
Yeah.
join the platform. I think there's a lot of room, obviously. And I'd love to see, really, really love to see more poets, join that space. And yeah, like it would be amazing to kind of like see the space kind of have its own kind of categories of sorts,
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes I kind of feel like I can't really necessarily go one place to find all of the poetry, or maybe it exists or something, but quite
poetry's hard to like nail down into one place. So
right.
it might have more to do with something adjacent over here versus this, which sort of separates it into quadrants of where poets live.
Right.
Maybe also we need a hen radio, but for poetry, hen.poetry filter to filter out all of the hashtags for poetry.
That's cool.
Yeah, just a whole like a station of just spoken word.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to. I might have to reach out to Order and Chaos, who worked on the hen.radio. He was big part of the collaboration to make that happen during the hackathon, and see how he did it. And then maybe, I don't know. I'm always thinking I can I'm maybe at that level of coding where I could put something together like that, or just suggest it heavily to someone that can.
Right. Well, I think that there's a lot of people who are extremely capable for these things,
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I think there's one other thing too. It would be like Hic et Nunc hasn't really like kind of solidified the way that songs are displayed. Have you noticed that? Like it doesn't have the title like of songs.
It just appears as like an image initially, and then you'd have to go to the object and
right.
And sometimes, that wouldn't so much draw me in. Like when I see an image, I click it that I like, but just say, for example, the image that you've used for your song isn't what's going to grab people and draw them in. I would like to see a more like a tag that shows that this is audio or this is a track. It's got the artist and name next to it versus just your sort of the numerical at the bottom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that I can imagine that actually happening, one day, and it'll just be like, there it is,
Just magically appears.
Right. And I think I can't go through a music episode without mentioning Radeon FM. They are also a Tezos music streaming service. They've been working exclusively on music since around the same time that Hic et Nunc came out, but definitely it's only focused on music, and I think it's based out of, the person running it's based out of Ohio, but there's some interesting ideas. It's, from what I've gathered, checking it out on multiple occasions, it's closer to the Spotify model as far as like a streaming radio kind of thing. But yeah, it's just another one to check out.
Cool.
Yeah. Maybe it needs a NFT Raider. Maybe it needs a whole new platform for it, right? With more specialized criteria for textual art. Speaking of poetry, maybe as well as, yeah. But yeah. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention? I know we're hitting that 2-hour mark, and that's usually kind of when we start to wrap it up. So I want to make sure if you had anything else you wanted to kind of cover, we make sure to.
No, I mean, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. This is just really it's really an honor to be here, and
it's fantastic to get to talk to you and pick your brains.
Yeah, I would love to do it again.
That'd be wonderful. We'd love to have you, and Yeah, thanks for taking the time, and the music was beautiful, and I'm looking forward to the poetry collaboration that you talked about.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just thank you so much.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.
All right, Marc. Well, we'll see you next time.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Be safe.
Take care.
Yes, be well, be safe.
Watch Old.
Don't watch Old.
The judge.
The Judge.
The judge.
2014's The Judge. We got it in here.
We got it in.
We got it in. Robert Downey Jr.
Nice. All right, we're gonna exit with the Coldplay track, and then we'll wrap things up. All right, Marc. We'll see you.
Take care, sir. Bye bye.
Well, Davey.
Well, I've done everything I set out to do here today.
I know. You mentioned Old. You mentioned
the Judge.
And you got to diss Coldplay.
I did. I always like to take any opportunity to talk about how much I sincerely dislike Coldplay.
I know.
Thank you for having me, Jeff. This has been lovely. I hope I can come back on another time and derail your stream with my random tangents sooner than later.
Yes, absolutely. And maybe people want to see what you do out in the world. So
I do more than talk about the Judge.
And this Coldplay.
And just Coldplay, yeah. I think it's on the screen. You can find me at davyfrancis.com, which will take you to the music that I create that I have mentioned on the show today. There's links to tracks I've made, and links to my most recent project with Michael Swaim over at patreon.com/smallbeans, which is an audiobook of his short stories that are sort of somber and sci-fi that I wrote music towards. And then also my photography, which is more of my NFT style, which you can buy prints of. And there will be links to my current listings on Foundation. And as soon as I get done here, actually, we're going to be updating that so you can get to my hand profile as well and check out all of my listings on Hick and Nook.
Excellent. Sweet, man. Well, again, thank you. This was a lot of fun. And I'll have to have you back. And everybody in the chat, NFT Raider, Pure Spider, Tealit T, Marc is going to be minting his session here today and giving out to all the crew here. So always appreciate you having the time to set aside to join us and hang out.
Thanks for hanging out, guys.
And make sure to tune in next week. Next week, we're going to do our first official jam session with art. So I'd call it a drink and draw, but it's just not going to be what it is. I mean, it's just going to be so much more than that, but it's basically a drink and draw where we just hang out and everybody's drawing or coding or doing something so that people can kind of get a third eye perspective on all these crazy creative people and see them.
I'm gonna set up the camera pointing at my hands and my keyboard, and I'm gonna write chapters in my novel for that.
There we go.
So if you're fast enough, you can read what I'm writing via the keyboard.
That's meta.
Very much. I want to release the whole book like that.
I'm gonna record it, slow it down, call it out vocally
one letter at a time
to my wife. And then she's going to longhand, cursive, record it. Then we're going to photocopy it and distribute it in pamphlets, hand stapled across the city.
I love it. I support it. You have my blessing.
It's going to make it big.
Huge.
Huge.
Massive.
I want to end on something I heard recently in the news.
Okay.
Donald Trump's at it again.
What do you mean? What has he done?
He wants to ban all shredded cheese. Have you heard this?
Well, I don't ever like to purport myself as being like on board with anything that lunatic thinks. But the thing about shredded cheese, like as a product you buy, is generally it's treated so it doesn't melt.
Okay.
So it's not really cheese. You put it in the oven, it stays shredded cheese, which makes me wonder what it is in general.
Well, I mean, his whole platform behind like this move is to make America great again. So.
Oh, you piece of shit.
That's my dad joke for the evening. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out. NFT Raider says it's starch, by the way.
Oh, wonderful. Now I'm aware. You learn something. Every day's a school day.
That's right. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And Davey, you the man dog. And we will touch base with you guys again next week. Thank you. Love you. Peace, love, and NFTs.